Neptune is known as the planet of illusions, dreams and fantasy. Neptune's glyph is the trident of Poseidon, god of the seas. Much about this planet is fluid, changeable and illusory in nature. The eighth house is one of the hidden mysteries, the biggest of which is the final transformation, death. Matters associated with the eighth house are sexuality, secrets, taxes, inheritance, the occult, shadows of the psyche, emotional intensity, transformation, intuition, joint finances, death, and healing. When Neptune is placed in the eighth house, the most powerful house of the zodiac, it is said the Redeemer may appear as death itself. Certainly Neptune in the eighth is connected with certain kinds of wrongdoing, states of depression, or sickness within the soul as distinct from physical suffering or illness. In the first place, the consciousness of the native may be on the borderland between life and death. They may be liable to fall into trances, lethargies, catalepsies, and the like. Often there is a morbid fascination with the afterlife or the possibility of dissociating into catatonia, trance, or derealization. The views of the native with regard to death are likely to be very original. They may hold some fantastic theory on this subject. Their mind will tend to dwell habitually upon it, and they may regard it with extraordinary aversion, or, on the other hand, it may possess a morbid fascination for them. They may be addicted to some form of necromancy as spiritualism, and the subject will rarely be absent from the back of their mind. Sometimes there is a death wish or suicidal longing in the personality. The eighth house urgency for suicide can be directed back to a primitive interpretation of desiring intimacy with the divine, and death may appear as the redeemer. The yearning for the source may take the form of literal courting of oblivion, as is often the case in deaths caused by overdose. Eighth house deaths relate to unusual implications surrounding surgeries and accidents, drug or substance overdose, abrupt and sudden endings, suicide, and a yearning for the total emptying out of consciousness. In any case, the manner of their death is likely to be very singular, unnatural, possibly premature, sometimes even inexplicable, and in extreme cases provoke conspiracy theories. The presence of the watery and moist Neptune in this house is very peculiar in its indication. On a physical, unconscious level, eighth house Neptune people are susceptible and sensitive to anesthesia of all kinds. When considering surgery, they should always get a second or even a third medical opinion before engaging the surgery. It is possible that death comes to the eighth house Neptune person while under anesthesia or while sleeping. For example, Andy Warhol had his eighth house ruled by Neptune and died during a routine gallbladder surgery. His autopsy stated he was accidentally overdosed with fluids, and Warhol's lawyer, Bruce Clark, said, "They pumped him full through here and they never kept track of what came out later. The fluids drowned him." People born with this position of Neptune should be exceedingly careful not to overdose themselves with any drug which has a direct action upon the consciousness. They hold to life by delicate a thread. For example, Janis Joplin has her Neptune forming a grand trine on the cusp of the 8th house, and in attempts to play with oblivion died of a heroin overdose. Death will probably come while you are already unconscious or in a coma. There is also a possibility that death may be caused by poison. For example, Jim Jones, the leader of the People's Temple cult, whose Neptune is in the 8th house, committed suicide by consuming cyanide. Neptune in the 8th house may indicate that your imaginative and spiritual potential may manifest through innate psychic abilities. There is a spiritual longing with this position. Death and spiritualism may exert a powerful fascination over the personality. Interested in dealing with the mystical subjects or in the occult teachings and yearn to explore the hidden dimensions of life, might often experience psychic phenomena, and there is extreme sensitivity to the undercurrents in the atmosphere. You may gain knowledge through an ability to enter upon the spirit planes. Some astrologers believe the individual is very open to spirits or other eternal unseen forces. Mediumship and extrasensory perceptual abilities are possible. With Neptune in the 8th house, the imagination is strong and psychically linked. A rich dream life can be a source of otherwise hidden knowledge. The dream state is quite prolific. Expect some strange psychical and dream experiences. And one can often experience strange or bizarre dreams and can suffer from nightmares and insomnia. They may have out-of-body or astral experiences. Esoterically, Neptune in this house produces magicians both black and white who can manipulate occult forces, who are thrust into the underworld and exposed to frameworks of mythological symbol, universal secrets, and sacred insights from the dead. The 8th house is also one of the houses of psychology, and on the psychological level the native may often possess the gift for sounding the depths of their psyche, for feeling what others' motivations are, and for thoroughly understanding behavioral patterns in a sensitive, emotional and non-intellectual way. In many instances they have built-in bullshit detectors and seem to read other people through X-ray vision. The 8th house keeps psychologists and psychiatrists in good business. Those who nurture the transcendental will garner knowledge and draw healing from internal examination. Just as Neptune in the 8th house is known to blur in between the very boundaries of life and death. This is also the house of sex and intimacy, and 8th house Neptune people can host very intense magnetic powers of attraction. They yearn for a spiritual form of ecstasy on a sexual level, a soul connection. La petite mort, a French term that when translated means the little death, was a popular reference and euphemism for the sexual orgasm that was used to describe instances of blacking out after orgasm and other supposed spiritual releases that come with orgasm. Transcendence, as a result of the expenditure of the life force, and the feeling which is caused by the release of oxytocin in the brain after the occurrence of orgasm. When we reach that exalted state of communion, we leave a little of ourselves behind. The term the little death does not always apply to sexual experiences. It can also be used when some undesired thing has happened to a person and has affected them so much that a part of them dies inside. The act of merging sexually with another person can take on transcendental meaning, used as a way to transcend ordinary reality, and is considered a way of dissolving boundaries and the limits of the self. There is a longing for complete transformation through sexual merging with others in a spiritually satisfying way. They may also believe that sex is not only a service to others but also a way of healing others' emotional wounds from the past as well as the self. There can be great sensitivity towards a partner and even psychic attunement. However, Neptune's longings are difficult to achieve. They may not see their partner clearly because of a deep need for extraordinary or fantastical experiences. Some people with placement may be confused by their sexual identities and find it difficult defining sexual needs. Sex may also be disappointing and never live up to their fantasies. They might feel that their needs on this level are always just out of reach. They might be a giver in bed, and perhaps feel that they give more than you get. Alternatively, they could be in the completely opposite position in which they seek partners who are exceptionally giving on a sexual level. Either way, there is an imbalance and they could be left wanting. The 8th house is traditionally regarded as the goods of the dead and indicates assets, gains and legacies on behalf of the departed. The native may probably benefit through legacies, but will do well to beware of trickery on the part of the executors, and must be prepared for all sorts of small disappointments and delays in connection with this matter. These remarks do not apply to questions of direct inheritance, such as may be expected in the normal course of events, as from the father. The goods of the partner in business or leisure are also indicated by the 8th to use. Here again, the native must expect a certain vagueness, and possibly deception and disappointment. It would be very foolish to marry for money, for, if they did so, they would almost certainly fail to obtain it, either through some chicanery or through the property being lost wholly or in part shortly after marriage. Similarly, on entering into a business partnership, the capital of the partner should be regarded as a very doubtful element. There may be times when you give more than you take with money. If a more aggressive personality seems to want something more, you will cut them a better deal. Your shared finances may be chaotic in some way. You may be taken advantage of on a monetary level in partnership, or you might keep poor financial records and end up paying or owing more as a result. There can be a blurring of boundaries when it comes to finances and partnership, whether that means you allow a partner to control your own finances or you adopt what's mine is yours philosophy without following up on or enforcing the what's yours is mine part. In this way, you may leave yourself open to deception or even fraud. You can be a bit sloppy with accounting. Over the years, You will likely learn to take more responsibility for your finances and learn to be less timid about taking ownership of what is rightfully yours. Natal 8th house in Neptune can indicate infant mortality, though promise an extended life, if not cut during childhood. They'll be plagued by a lifetime of wrong diagnosis. Quote. Sometimes there is mystery surrounding the genetic inheritance which can manifest as illness or disease. Possibly some long-wasting disease, some obscure malady of the nerves or of the cerebral spinal fluid, may be the cause of death. The condition called status lymphaticus is sometimes associated with this position. In some cases, it may come very suddenly. A chronic illness of many years standing might develop some fulminating form. Most probably of all, the native may not know that they are ill, or, if they do so, they may find that the doctors entirely fail to diagnose their disorder. The death itself may prove inexplicable, even on a post-mortem examination, and be ascribed to the failure of the heart's action. It would be wise for them to have standing instructions as to what to do in case of their apparent death, as otherwise they may run some risk of being buried alive. Not only should they acquaint their friends and relatives with the circumstances, but they should carry a paper on themselves which could easily be read by any stranger who discovered them with all appearance of death. The native must also be very careful in regard to making their own will. They should see to it that no loophole is left for any disputes subsequent to their death, and they should also take the greatest care that their will is safely in the hands of reliable persons who will know where to find it at their death. Nor should they be lax in the choice of proper executors.